Okay, so finally getting back on track with things here. We are now back on my vinyl collection series. This is part 17. We're finishing up the E's and starting the F's within this part. And the only other thing to bring up here is what's going to be playing in the background as the loud truck passes by, which is going to be Atari Teenage Riot with their debut album, Delete Yourself. Man, I have been spinning this daily, and this will definitely not be the last time you see me talk about these guys, because I'm digging everything by them. I want to get my hands on as much stuff as I can by them. I mean, hell, even this member right here, Alec Empire, the dude has some incredible work on his own, and these guys definitely deserve the title of innovative. Like, it's a fact, and it's absolutely incredible. So again, I know I'm very late to the party talking about them, but better late than never. But definitely, I strongly recommend checking out Atari Teenage Riot. It's a blend, again, of like electronic, or as they call it, digital hardcore that was just way ahead of their time. In the last part, I ended on Explosions in the Sky, and in this part, there's only one other Explosions in the Sky record to talk about, and that is the latest album that I have by them. I'm missing quite a lot, which is The Earth Is Not a Cold, Dead Place. This is actually the first ever release I heard by them, and again, it just really has all the cliches that you would expect with post-rock, and there's really not much else to say about it, because unless a post-rock band does something like blatantly, obviously, like different, it's like nearly impossible to describe it, because like all the cliches that you could think of are all attached with this. Basically, I guess why Explosions in the Sky is like considered one of the big pillars for the genre is it's quite obvious that they took influence from Slint's Spiderland, but instead of like the post-hardcore segments that Slint did, they just added obviously more post-rock segments, and it's just all instrumental, so it gives off a more somber and calming sound overall. But yeah, the melodies on here are soothing and relaxing, and yeah, that's about it. Got this at a Newberry Comics years ago, so I mean, it's quite accessible to get. But yeah, Explosions in the Sky, good gateway band if you want to get into post-rock. So other than that, for the packaging and layout, you have artwork, backside, double LP on printed inner sleeves, so side A and B, along with side C and D. Both are standard black vinyl, but side D is etched with some, like, I don't know if it's a show, like some birds or whatever, doves I guess, kind of etched on the dead wax. Up next is Faceless Entity with their debut full-length album, Invia ad Nosquium. I believe they're from the Netherlands, so this is a Dutch raw black metal band that I was thoroughly impressed with the demos previous to this that made me really anticipated for the full-length release right here. And overall, it's pretty much, you know, just suit and tie raw black metal with kind of like that ritualistic vibe that enhances the atmosphere. And yeah, you know, over the years I've complained about how much I've kind of lost interest with like the really raw necro black metal bands that are kind of newer, because you start to realize over time, slowly and steadily, like, you know, they all kind of sound the same to an extent. But Faceless Entity is definitely a standout. It's just really good, it's solid, stripped down raw black metal right to the point. But yeah, other than that, this was put out through Alter Productions, so I can't guarantee you if it's still available. I know they did a repress at some point, so definitely check it out if you're a fan of like the very necro harsh take on raw black metal. But as for the packaging and layout, you have this artwork right here, which I think looks fucking awesome. Backside with the track comes with an insert sheet one of a tombstone that looks like a penis, and the track listing and credits on the other side. Comes on a standard black vinyl, but it's very DIY looking, with the labels kind of like glued on with paper of side A and B right there. The next handful of releases are all by one band, one of my personal favorites within the New England metal scene, and that would be Falls of Rauros. This is their debut album, Hail Wind and Hewn Oak. Awesome, awesome black metal, I believe from Portland, Maine, that I've always looked at Falls of Rauros as being like the more stripped down version of Panopticon. And even though I state that it's, you know, stripped down black metal, there's still elements of like post metal, post-rock, and they definitely attach themselves a lot with some folk interludes within their songwriting. However, I would say the debut right here isn't as intricate as their later releases that we'll be talking about in a little bit. This one has more suit and tie-like types of black metal riffs on here. From the drumming and guitar riffs, it's very straightforward. So honestly, I would say this is like their heaviest release within the discography. Still awesome stuff. Originally put out through Bindmoon Recordings and Lost for Thy Recordings, which haven't heard that label in a while. Not sure if it's still available. I think it's a one and only time pressing, but definitely worthy of checking out because everything by Falls of Rauros ranges from either good to great. As for the packaging and layout, you have artwork right here, backside with the track listings, double LP that both come on standard black vinyl with an insert sheet of artwork with a passageway down there and nothing on the other side. Proceeding on after that to their sophomore album, The Light That Dwells in Rotten Wood. This is their magnum opus in my personal view because this is the album that really got me to enjoy their approach of black metal because every little detail about this album is gorgeous. The dynamics of it flow so perfectly, of them blending the folk interlude segments to the slower parts that have like elements of post-rock and post-metal to the harsher parts of the black metal segments. Obviously not really, I shouldn't say segments, more of just the black metal majority of it. It is just so gorgeous, and I love every moment and every track on here. That for me personally, it's the type of album you listen to that, you know, you put your headphones in and you just go through a walk through like a big giant vast forest of mountains and fields and all that type of stuff. That definitely the next time I go to New Hampshire and hike up Mount Lafayette, this is definitely an album I need to be blasting because it's just so perfect for that mood and setting. Tracks on here like Earth's Old Timid Grace, Banished, Await in the Fire or Flood that Awakes It, and All That Howling Fog are just great examples of everything I just stated has some substance to it. Like this album, can't stress it enough, is so gorgeous. As for where I got this, geez, I got this maybe 4 years ago coming up now at one of their live shows, and I'm not really sure anywhere else has these copies because I know yeah, actually, to be really blunt and honest, I don't really think there is anyone selling it because it was like their last copy they had on their merch stand, so hate to tell you that, guys. But other than that, as for the packaging and layout, the artwork is a bit different from the CD, which personally I prefer the CD artwork to this, but nonetheless still gorgeous artwork. Backside with, of course, even more beautiful photography and track listings. Comes with an insert sheet with more photography and lyrics along with the song titles. Double LP that come on this clear beer color, I guess, limited to 300 copies. After that, I have the two-way split between Falls of Rauros and Panopticon. Gonna be just very blunt with you guys, but specifically and only for the Falls of Rauros side. Never been really that crazy for Panopticon. And no disrespect to Austin Lund, because clearly he's doing something right with the following he's got for this project. And I can definitely see the appeal blending black metal and bluegrass together. It's definitely something very different from your traditional sense of black metal. So I definitely see the appeal, but it's never been a combination from what I've heard thus far that's really won me over. I mean, sure, Kentucky is definitely an album that I think is his best, that I do enjoy some moments of it, but it's never been something where I'm like, you know, I gotta get this ASAP right away. But I try to give Panopticon, you know, more and more chances because clearly he's doing something right. But as I stated, the Falls of Rauros side is where it is at with this because they're the heavier, more aggressive side that just comes off a bit more memorable to me on this. But yeah, just had to get it to complete the collection. As for where you can get this, I can't guarantee it, but I'm pretty sure places like Discogs or Bindmoon Recordings still carries copies of this. But as for the packaging and layout, it's pretty bare bones. You have artwork right here, backside with the track listings. Standard black LP, but comes with an insert sheet with credits and lyrics on the other side. Up next is the third full-length album by Falls of Rauros, that being Believe in No Coming Shore. Honestly, I would say out of their whole discography, this is my least favorite because there's really not much of the essence of black metal on this album. It's more of like a really atmospheric post-metal album to me. It still has a lot of melody and it's still written really well, but the essence of what I originally liked by Falls of Rauros isn't here as much. Still worthy of checking out. It's nothing bad, but I would say easily on my part it's my least favorite. But I think it's the track Ancestors of Shadow that definitely has some really killer melodies within that song right there. But yeah, other than that, I'm pretty sure you can get all of these Falls of Rauros releases I'll be talking about at Bindroom besides their latest album, so definitely check out the stuff and inventory there. As for the packaging and layout, you have album artwork, backside. Once again, another insert sheet with a band photo and lyrics and track listings on the other side. And my vinyl variant comes on this white with kind of like some gray smoke colors on the outer parts of it. Then I have their fourth full-length album, that being Vigilance Perennial. This is where they kind of go back to their roots because it's very reminiscent of that. The debut with the black metal essence feels more predominant here. And though they kind of deviate a bit with some folk interlude tracks, just overall, like, the majority of it is a black metal album that I would say if you enjoy the debut album by Oliver Bergta, or Bergtate again, however you pronounce it, you'll find a lot to admire with this album particularly. But yeah, other than that, pretty sure you can still get it at Bindroom. I know this one is still available last time I checked, and you have no reason not to get it because Falls of Rauros, in my personal view, has never done anything under, you know, good. It's always just ranged from either good to great. But yeah, as for the layout and packaging, you have album artwork, backside. Once again, comes with an insert sheet of band picture and thank you notes, along with lyrics on the other side. And every vinyl edition comes on crystal clear. And the final thing I have pertaining to Falls of Rauros is their latest album, Patterns in Mythology. Man, in terms of guitar work, this easily has some of the best riffs they've ever wrote within their whole discography. Way more climactic and epic sounding that propels them past, you know, just your dime a dozen sounding types of atmospheric black metal bands. Very melodic, but just very powerful and energetic. Because it's the track on here, Weapons of Refusal. Easily one of the best songs they ever wrote. That really overall, this is some of their better material within their discography, that really everything about this album is stellar besides the middle part. I forget exactly which track it is, but there again is another folk interlude track with some acoustic guitar work obviously. And they try doing like this type of rugged, clean singing that's just really awkward and ruins the mood. But everything else about this album, all the black metal moments, are just top notch overall. But yeah, as to where you can get this, I know I'm pretty sure it's sold out a while ago, and they're not signed to Bindroom anymore, so I guess try checking out Discogs if you want copies of this. But overall, if you want to get into Falls of Rauros, this and their sophomore album I showed earlier are the two best places to start out with. As for the packaging and layout, you have album artwork, backside with the track listings, comes with an insert sheet with credits and lyrics on the other side, and my vinyl edition comes on this silver gray LP. Now we go to Fear of God. This is their self-titled EP. For a lot of people, when it comes to 1980s grindcore, you'll immediately think of Napalm Death, Carcass, or Repulsion. Those are obviously really recognizable and respected names, not taking anything away from them. But if you were to ask me what is the most intense 80s grindcore release, I gotta give it to Fear of God. Because those three bands I just mentioned, think of their sound but just harsher and noisier in every sense, basically. Because I don't know if it was Fear of God's intentions or not, but they made basically the first ever noisecore or noise grind release, because it is just such drenched in reverb that it just almost borderlines on the harsh noise aspect with just pummeling drums and just, you know, wretched and crazy harsh vocals that they basically created noise grind with it, and this album in release is awesome. Thankfully, they've been doing a lot of represses for it, because I know for a while it was pretty hard to get. This recent repress was put out through FOAD Records, which as for the layout and packaging, I wish they did a better job, because it's very, very flimsy, this jacket, which is why I keep the LP and all the contents within it separate from the jacket. But other than that, you have album artwork. Backside comes with a double-sided lyric sheet, and this LP pressing comes on crystal clear vinyl. Next up is Feral Light, Life Vapor. One of my favorite albums from last year that my friend Richard told me about, that just is overall really good, kind of like dark, atmospheric black metal, just really, really well done, intricate guitar riffs and solos that feels artistic but still doesn't lose the wretched and raw sound that you would want within atmospheric black metal. So yeah, really good stuff overall. Not that much else to say about it other than the atmosphere kind of reminds me a bit of the sounds you'll get from Uvia, and if you sound anything like Uvia, that's one hell of a compliment. Not sure if it's still available, because I got my copy of this through the Bandcamp, so I'm pretty sure it's self-released, because there's no credits right here stating what label put it out. So if you want it, my best guess is check the Bandcamp for Feral Light. But yeah, other than that, for the layout and packaging, you have album artwork, backside with the track listings, insert sheet with artwork and lyrics on the other side, and all LP pressings come on this kind of like cranberry and gray swirl color. Ah yes, now I finally get to talk about this band within this series. Next up is Legitious Idiosyncrasy in the Dilapidation. I find it funny that I can say this band name with ease, yet I stutter and mispronounce so many other band names. Yeah, I can say this one so easily. But Flagitious Idiosyncrasy in the Dilapidation is a Japanese grindcore band that consists of 4 women, and they're all, you know, kind of cute and cuddly looking. They look insanely innocent. I know, like, they're all, like, under the height of 5 feet. Like, they're really small, and they just look so innocent. Yet, these girls play harder, faster, and honestly heavier than a majority of grindcore bands that are obviously full of guys that, you know, are big, fat, sweaty, and have more hair on their back than they do their head. Like, these girls jam the fuck out. And to be honest, I found out about that after I discovered this album through like a YouTube related link. It is just so fun to listen to. It's just really, really well done grindcore that in terms of writing, it's pretty much by the books, but the execution, especially in the vocal department in this album, is just so awesome. She can hit the shrieks and growls just as good as any other dude, if not better, and it's just, again, I can't emphasize it enough. It's a fun grindcore album to listen to that, if memory serves me right, I got this off of Discogs for like $8. Like, people are selling this on Discogs dirt cheap, and it's just, you have no excuse not to get this. So I strongly recommend it, not because of the ridiculous name or the fact that it's all, you know, women that makes it somewhat of a standout, I guess. It's just, overall, it's just really, really good grindcore from start to finish. Other than that, as for the layout and packaging, it's pretty, you know, bare bones as you would guess. So you have album artwork, backside with the track listings and the band photo, and plain black vinyl along with a double-sided lyric sheet. As well too, I have the follow-up sophomore album, Wallow. I don't really care for this album nearly as much as the debut self-titled, because it kind of feels like they go more on the like crust punk side of things. Like, it isn't as hectic as the previous album. I mean, the vocal department is still, you know, top notch just like the previous one, but in terms of riffs and just overall structure, it just doesn't click with me as much. I mean, it's still worthy of checking out, and again, you can get all Flagitious Idiosyncrasy and the Dilapidation LPs on Discogs, no kidding, for like under $15, so that's the place to go to get these things. But other than that, for the layout and packaging, you have album artwork, backside with the track listings, standard black vinyl again, along with a double-sided lyric sheet. Once again, I can finally say yes, I get to talk about this album now within the series. Because I've been trying to get this for years, but the distro and label that always puts this out, it would either be sold out, and they would do, tons of represses for it, but I was always at, the wrong place at the wrong time, and I always missed out, but finally, I got it. I've been trying to get it for years. And that would be Fall of Efrefa. Elo. These guys were a neo-crust band, as some people call it. It's a blend of, at least this album is, of crust punk, sludge, and neo-folk. That arguably, for me at least, I would say this is one of the best punk albums I've ever heard, which doesn't really have that much weight to it, I guess, coming from me, because I don't really know that much about punk. But I never thought punk music could sound something like this. Like, this is incredible. That I know I have someone on my Facebook friends list that he jokes around about it, that it's basically like the angsty teenage version of Agalloch, essentially, is what this is. It's basically a punk version of Agalloch. It is so gorgeous, and it sucks that these guys weren't that active. I mean, they were only active for like maybe 5 or 6 years, and then they disbanded. And the only other thing I can tell you about this is that the band name is in reference to the book series, Watership Down, which I don't know that much about, but it seems like anything that has like the E's and the F's and a lot of A's within the words kind of gets traced back to a Watership Down, because I know another band that I'm a fan of that is, takes reference from Watership Down is Aurora. So that's one thing I've noticed. But this is so gorgeous. Like, the one warning I'll give you is that the first 10 minutes is like build up, so it's kind of just like, drags out a bit. But the rest of the album that, goes out for like a little over an hour long is so amazing. It is so, so, so amazing, alright? Whatever you think the cliches are of punk music, throw that out the fucking door and check this out, because it's gorgeous, it's very atmospheric. Crust punk, something I consider to be just so rigid and ugly and rugged, is breathtaking on this album, and I want to get more by them, but I've been hunting this album for the longest time, and I'm so happy I get to talk about it here and own it just in general. But yeah, again, not sure if it's still available off the distro that puts it out. It's not really labeled here which shop does it, but search these guys up, and I urge you to check this out and get a copy, because it's seriously some of the best punk music I've ever heard. As for the layout and packaging, you have album artwork, backside of the track listings, comes on a gatefold, double LP that come on this green and black marble color. The last 2 records are all by the same artist, which would be Florence and the Machines. This is her debut album, Lungs. I love this album. It is not a guilty pleasure, and I don't have a soft spot for her. It's just overall, I think Florence does stellar work with pop music. That, I guess her approach with pop is like she does art pop, but not like in the pretentious, like over drawn out way. It still has like that accessible, like mainstream sound with just, some actual effort being put in, and I think Florence really does great work. Because I know she blew up with this album with the track The Dog Days Were Over. I remember that would play on the radio all the time, and probably for a lot of you guys who know of her, you would be like, that's it, that's all it really is just stereotypical pop music. And man, you couldn't be just far from the truth there with that. There's kind of like, to an extent, some types of experimentation going on here, because the track Kiss with a Fist, essentially Florence and the Machines made a punk rock song with the beats and synthesizers of art pop, which is pretty cool. Then you have the drumming song, which is insanely infectious, and then I think it's the track Blinding is easily the best song she ever wrote, because it's like atmospheric pop music, kind of like borderlines on the dream pop sound, and it is so gorgeous, that track. I urge you to check out the track Blinding. But yeah, for the most part, you guys should know her because she was kind of like a mainstream, breakout success, again, with the track Dog Days Are Over. But yeah, as for the layout and packaging, you have album artwork, backside with the track listings, comes on a gatefold, standard black vinyl, but does come in a printed inner sleeve of pictures of Florence and lyrics and thank you notes on the other side. As for the last record for this vinyl collection part and the last thing I have by Florence and the Machine, that would be How Big, How Blue, How Beautiful. This album right here is a concept, basically kind of stereotypical. It's about love and relationship and heartbreak, yada yada yada. The concept really isn't all that much to talk about. As for the music, again, just Florence does stellar work within the realms of pop music. Again, the kind of like artsy ways she writes it just feels, entertaining still. That you can definitely tell she takes influence to an extent to that of like Kate Bush. Which, speaking of which, I need to get some Kate Bush LPs. I'm kind of severely lacking within pop music within my vinyl collection. But yeah, these tracks are just catchy, fun, and to me at least, Florence's voice, no matter what track I'm listening to, I just can't help but like not ignore it. It's just very infectious and just striking to me. So overall, she's got a stellar singing voice. But yeah, other than that, I got this at a record store a while back, which I wish I didn't because they charge like around $30 a pop for this, yet distros and stores online charge like half the price. So if you want this LP by Florence, definitely get it online and you'll get it for a better price. As for the layout and packaging, you have album artwork, backside with the track listings, insert sheet with artwork on both sides that folds out like so, and you get all the lyrics for the album. Double LP that both come on plain black vinyl, but they are printed inner sleeves, so you have side 1 and 2, along with side 3 and 4. Alright guys, that's it for this vinyl collection part. Like always, links will be provided to everything I talked about in the description below, and that is that. So like always guys, make sure you guys drink plenty of water to stay hydrated, and have a great day.